Good morning, students. Today I am going to solve some questions in the exercises of chapter number 3, that is a revision tour to Wii programming using NetBeans. So at first visit the page 89 and refer question number 15 in your book. The question says rewrite the following code using the for loop. Now this is the particular code that we have to rewrite it using the for loop. At present, this particular code only consists of the while loop. Okay, this is the opening parenthesis of the while loop and this is the closing parenthesis of the while loop. The opening parenthesis and the closing parenthesis of the while loop constitute the body of the loop. These are the two Java statements inside the body of this while loop. The first statement declares a variable n with data type int and then assigns the value 1 into it. So in this statement, the declaration of the variable n as well as the initialization of the variable n with the value 1 is done at the same time. Then the while loop checks the condition whether the value of the variable n is less than 11 or not. Since at the very beginning the variable n has been assigned the value 1, and obviously when n is equal to 1 it is less than 11. So the condition n less than 11 holds true when the value of n is equal to 1. As a result, the control then moves inside the body of this while loop and then executes this Java statement. After that, the value of n is again incremented by 1. Okay. Here n plus plus means n equal to n plus 1. That means we are incrementing the value of n by 1. As the previous value of n was 1, so n plus plus gives the new value of n as 2. And then it again jumps to the beginning of the while loop and then it checks the condition whether the value of n is less than 11 or not. This time, as the value of n is now 2 and obviously 2 is less than 11, so it again enters inside the body of this while loop and executes this Java statement. And then it again increments the value of n by 1. Now as the value of n was 2 before, so incrementing it by 1 using n plus plus gives the new value of n as 3. And then it again jumps to the beginning of the while loop and checks the condition whether the value of n is less than 11 or not. This time as the value of n is 3 and obviously 3 is less than 11, so this condition again holds true and it then again enters inside the body of this while loop, executes this Java statement and then increments the value of n by 1 using this statement n plus plus. This time the value of n is increased by 1 and so it becomes 4, and then it again jumps to the beginning of the while loop. It checks the value of n whether it is less than 11 or not. So this looping process continues again and again until this condition holds true. So as long as the value of n is less than 11, these statements inside this while loop shall get executed. But a time will come when the value of n will no longer be less than 11. Then at that point this condition will not hold true. Okay, this condition will hold false. And it is at this point when these statements inside the body of this while loop will not get executed. So as soon as this condition holds false, the control will skip executing both these Java statements inside the body of this loop and it will jump to the next line after the loop. Now what's important in this piece of code is that you have to note down the declaration and the initialization portion. This particular statement declares a variable n as well as it initializes it with the value 1. The next thing you need to note down is the conditional part. So in this case, n less than 11 is the conditional part. So this is the declaration cum initialization part. This is the conditional part. And then the next thing you need to note down is the incrementation part. Now n++ here denotes the incrementation part, which increases or increments the value of n by 1. Now if we are required to rewrite this entire piece of code using the for loop, then we will need this initialization cum declaration part, the conditional part, as well as the incrementation part. At the very beginning, I have to include the declaration of the variable n of data type int in the modified code like this, and then include the initialization portion where the value of the variable n has been assigned 1, and we will include this in the first part of the for statement. So the declaration part is shown here and the initialization part is shown here as the first part of the for statement. Then the conditional part, whether the value of n is less than 11 or not, this checking should be included as the second part of the for statement. And then the incrementation part, which increases the value of n by 1 using this statement n++, should be included as a third part in the for statement. Now note that each of these parts, that is the initialization part, the conditional part, as well as the incrementation part inside this for statement are separated by semicolon. And that you can see clearly here, there is a semicolon between the initialization part n equal to 1 and the conditional part n less than 11. And again there is a semicolon between the conditional part, which is n less than 11, and the incrementation part n++. And then the body of this for loop starts with this opening parenthesis and this closing parenthesis. The opening parenthesis and the closing parenthesis constitute together to form the body of this for loop. And inside the body of this for loop, this particular Java statement has been included. So here is the Java statement which has been included inside the body of this for loop. Now keep in mind that the declaration portion has to be done at the very beginning, before the initialization portion, the conditional portion, as well as the incrementation portion. This statement declares a variable n of data type int. Next, come to page number 89 and refer question number 16. The question says, what will be the values of the variables egg and egg1 after the execution of the following loops? Okay, so this is the first one, which is the loop 1, and this is the second one, which is the loop 2. The variable egg has been mentioned in the first loop, that is loop 1. Okay, so here is this variable egg, but the variable egg1 is not mentioned in the first loop. Okay, it's not mentioned here. You will find the variable egg1 in the second loop, okay, that is this particular loop denoted as loop 2. Now here is this variable egg1. Now let's solve the first part of the question, which deals with the variable egg. This variable egg has been mentioned in loop 1. Now read the question. It says, what will be the value of the variable egg after the execution of the following loop? So this particular loop is loop 1, okay, and this is the piece of code. Now once this piece of code gets executed, I have to find out the final value of this variable called egg. Now the first statement in the piece of code declares and initializes two variables, a and egg, with the values 9, and this is properly represented here. At first the variable a has been assigned the value 9, and then again the variable egg has been assigned the value 9, okay, and these values has been taken from this particular statement. Now the next thing to do is to execute this set of Java statements inside the body of this while loop, as long as this conditional part holds true. Now let's check whether this conditional part holds true or not, okay, whether the value of a is greater than 10 or not. We know that the value of a is 9, and we got that from this initialization statement, where the value 9 has been assigned to the variable a. Now since a has the value 9, so obviously 9 is not greater than 10, so this conditional part, which is a greater than 10, holds false, as 9 is not greater than 10. As a result, this set of Java statements inside the body of this while loop shall not get executed. Both these statements shall be skipped, and then the control will move to the next line after the closing parenthesis. So as a greater than 10 holds false, with a having the value 9, I have represented that here, where a greater than 10 returns false. Now since the while loop has exited as the conditional part holds false without executing these Java statements, so the value of the variable a will still remain as 9. As a result, after the execution of this loop, the value of the variable egg will still remain as 9. Now let's solve the second part of the question, which deals with the variable egg1. This particular variable is mentioned in the second loop, that is loop 2, and this portion of the code shall be executed to find what will be the final value of this variable called egg1. Now this is the initialization statement, where the value 9 has been assigned to the variable b and the value 0 has been assigned to the variable egg1. Both these variables, that is b and egg1, are declared with the data type int. Now I have noted down these initialization values for the variable b and egg1 out here. So I have brought this initialization part from this section of the code into here. Now the next part of the statement constitutes a do-while loop. Now these statements inside this do-while loop shall be executed at least once. because the conditional part which checks whether the value of b is greater than 10 or not is included at the end. That means even if this conditional part has to fail, these two Java statements shall be executed at least once because it comes before the conditional checking, which is b is greater than 10. Now this part of the Java statement, which is egg1 plus equal to b, is the same as egg1 equal to egg1 plus b. That's why I have implied this statement egg1 plus equal to b with the help of this arrow symbol. And the implication means egg1 equal to egg1 plus b. So this means egg1 plus equal to b can be written as egg1 equal to egg1 plus b. Now we know that egg1 has been initialized with the value 0. So this particular statement, which is egg1 equal to egg1 plus b, gives 0 plus 9, as 0 is the value of egg1 coming out from here and 9 is the value of b, which is coming out from here. Now 0 plus 9 is obviously 9, and as a result 9 becomes the new value for this variable called egg1. So we got egg1 is equal to 9. As a result, from this part of the Java statement, we found the value of egg1 to be equal to 9. Then come to the next statement, which is b minus equal to 2. Now b minus equal to 2 can be represented as b equal to b minus 2. That's why I have implied this statement, which is b minus equal to 2, with the help of this arrow symbol as b equal to b minus 2. Now b equal to b minus 2 gives 9 minus 2, as 9 is the value of b which is coming out from here, and 9 minus 2 gives 7. Okay, that's why the new value for b will be 7, and this is clearly shown here, b equal to 7. As a result, from this statement we got the value of egg1 to be equal to 9, and from this statement we got the value of b to be equal to 7. Now see, both these statements has executed at least once before this conditional checking, which is b greater than 10. And after the execution of these statements, the while statement checks whether the condition holds true or not, and the condition is whether the value of the variable b is greater than 10 or not. Now let's find out the value of this variable called b. As of now, the value of the variable called b is 7, and obviously since b holds the value 7 and 7 is definitely not greater than 10, okay, so b greater than 10 holds false, as 7 is not greater than 10. As a result, this do while loop will not continue again, and these statements shall not be executed again. But before this conditional part gets executed, these statements already executed once, and that's why we got the value of egg1 to be equal to 9 from the first statement, and we also got the value of b to be equal to 7 from the second statement. So if we look at this entire piece of code, once it gets executed, the final value of this variable called egg1 will be equal to 9. So the value of the variable egg1 after the execution of the loop will be 9. Next, all of you visit page number 90 and refer question number 17. The question says what will be displayed in the JTextArea1 control after the execution of the following loop. Now this is the piece of for loop code. This particular statement is inside the for loop. Okay. So this is the for loop which contains this Java statement. Now we have to find the value of this JTextArea1 control once this for loop finishes its execution. Now look at here, the for loop starts with the value 5, which is being assigned to this variable called I. Okay, and that I have represented it here. The variable I has been initialized with the value 5. Now just after the initialization portion, the control enters inside the body of this for loop and then it executes this piece of Java statement. This Java statement makes use of the JTextArea1 control, which is initially set to blank. Okay, so this JTextArea1 control initially does not contain anything. Okay, so initially it will be blank. Now I am adding something to this JTextArea1 control which is initially blank. What I am adding? I am adding this white space character. Now that this JTextArea1 control was already blank, and then including this white space character will then increase more blank spaces. As a result, this JTextArea1 control will now contain a very big blank space. After that, again I am adding something to it. Now this time I am adding the value of the product of I into I. Since the value of I was 5, so I into I will give 5 into 5, which is 25. So now the value 25 shall be added to this JTextArea1 control. Now this JTextArea1 control will also contain the value 25 in addition to the blank spaces. That's why for the JTextArea1 control, the value now assigned will be 25. So first time when the value of I has been assigned 5, this particular Java statement calculates the value of I into I, which is 5 into 5, that is 25. And then this value 25 is added to this JTextArea1 control using this setText method, and that is clearly represented here like this. When the value of I is 5, I into I becomes 5 into 5, which is 25, and so this JTextArea1 control will hold the value 25. Now once this Java statement gets executed, the value of I shall be decreased or decremented by 1. Now as the value of I was 5 before, so decreasing or decrementing it by 1 gives the new value of I as 4. It then checks this condition whether the value of I is greater than or equal to 2. Obviously 4 is greater than 2, so this condition holds true, and again this particular statement inside this for loop gets executed. So again we have to find the value of I into I. Now this time as the value of I is 4, so I into I gives 4 into 4, which is 16. Now from this particular Java statement, 16 shall be added to the JTextArea1 control using the setText method. Now as the JTextArea1 control already consisted of the value 25, so adding the new value 16 into it will show 25 space 16 as the new value for this JTextArea1 control. Okay. Now since this JTextArea1 is a control that accepts string values, so the plus symbol that is represented here does not denote the numeric addition. Instead, it denotes the string addition. As a result, these values, that is 25 and 16, are not numeric values, they are string values. So using the plus operator, we cannot perform addition of the values 25 and 16 to give 41. Instead, this plus symbol will just concatenate these string values 25 and 16 to give 25 space 16. As I have concatenated or joined with a white space and then the string value 16, which is coming out of this expression I into I. Okay, I into I denotes the value 16 because as the value of I was 4, so 4 into 4 gives 16. So this part adds a space and this part adds the string value 16 into the value contained in this JTextArea1 control, which already holds 25. So in this case, 25 space 16 shows the value 25, which is coming out from this part, the space which is coming out from this part, and the string value 16 which is coming out from this part. Again, once this Java statement gets executed, the control shifts to the beginning of the for loop and executes this decrement portion, which is I minus minus. Now as the old value of I was 4, so decrementing it by 1 through this statement I minus minus gives the new value of I as 3. Now this conditional part I greater than or equal to 2 holds true. This is because when the value of I is 3, obviously 3 is greater than 2, so this conditional part holds true, and then it enters inside the body of this for loop and again it executes this Java statement. So again the value of I into I is calculated, this time as the value of I was 3, so 3 into 3 gives 9. So from this particular Java statement, 9 shall get added into the JTextArea1 control. Now as the JTextArea1 control already consisted of the values 25 space 16, so adding 9 into it shall give the new value for JTextArea1 control as 25 space 16 space 9. The space in between 16 and 9 is coming out from here. And now again, as this Java statement gets executed, the control shifts to the beginning of the for loop and it then executes this decrement portion, which decrements the value of I by 1. Now as the value of I was 3 before, so decrementing it by 1 gives the new value of I as 2. Now this conditional part I greater than or equal to 2 holds true. This is because the value of I is now 2, and obviously if 2 is not greater than 2, it is still equal to 2 because the condition is such that I should be greater than or equal to 2. Now in this case, as the value of I is now 2, so even though 2 is not greater than 2, 2 is equal to 2. Okay, so 2 equal to 2 is the condition and that holds true. As a result, again this statement inside this body of the for loop gets executed, and the value of I into I shall be calculated again. Now that the value of I is 2, so I into I gives 2 into 2, which is 4. Now that the JText area 1 control already consisted of the values 25 space 16 space 9, so adding this value 4 out of this expression I into I gives the new value of this JText area 1 control as 25 space 16 space 9 space 4. Now after displaying these values in the JText area 1 control, the execution of this Java statement gets over, and then the control again shifts to the beginning of the for loop, and then it decreases the value of I by 1 through the statement I minus minus. Now as the value of I was 2 before, so decrementing it by 1 gives the new value of I as 1. Now this condition, that is I greater than or equal to 2, checks whether the value of I is greater than or equal to 2 or not. Now as the value of I is 1, so 1 is neither greater than 2 nor equal to 2. Okay. So as the value of I is 1, it is neither greater than 2 nor equal to 2. So this condition holds false. As a result, this particular statement will not execute again. So now we don't have to calculate the value of this expression I into I. That's why for the value of I as 1, the value of the expression I into I is blank. This is because this particular Java statement is not being executed. And that is due to the reason because the value of I is 1, which is neither greater than 2 nor equal to 2. So when the value of I becomes equal to 1, this particular statement will not be executed. This will be totally skipped. So as of now, the JText area 1 control will hold the values 25 space 16 space 9 space 4. And that's why after the execution of this piece of Java code, the value that shall be displayed in the JText area 1 control will be 25 16 9 4. Now with this I end my presentation here, and that's all for today.